All right, guys, it's time for the Next Level Guy Show, a men's interview, interest, and improvement-focused podcast featuring interviews with the greats from all industries to help you better your life. Each week, a new episode features an interview with one of the greats, covering all aspects of their story, from life hacks to tips and protocols that have allowed them to live life on the next level. We then highlight concrete action steps that you can use to improve your life. And now, your host, Ian Dawson Mackay.
Take charge of you. You are 100% in charge. Don't stop learning. Don't stop looking. Don't stop exploring. And that's a quote from today's guest, Dr. Joseph Dituri, otherwise known as Dr. Deep Sea. He's a Navy diver, hyperbaric pioneer, and a brain rebuilder. But what happens when a Navy diver and hyperbaric researcher locks himself underwater for 100 days to heal his brain? The man who went deep to think big. Meet Joseph Dituri. He's known as Dr. Deep Sea. He's a retired US Navy commander, hyperbaric researcher, and pioneering force at the intersection of undersea science, brain health, and space exploration. With over 28 years of elite military service, he specialized in everything from saturation diving to submersible design, leading special operations that pushed the boundaries of human endurance. But his most radical mission was spending 100 days living underwater to study the effects of hyperbaric pressure on the human body and brain, an experiment designed to unlock better treatments for traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and even prepare the human body for life on Mars. The results were nothing short of revolutionary. Now, as president of the International Board of Undersea Medicine and CEO of the Association for Marine Exploration, Dr. Dituri is using science to heal, especially for veterans. He's also an author, speaker, certified skydiver, systems engineer, and one atmosphere suit pilot, with his eyes firmly set on becoming a civilian astronaut. From the ocean floor to outer space, Dr. Dituri's work is not just about survival, it's about pushing human potential to extraordinary new depths. And now, let's get to the interview. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an honor. I think I know you. I feel like I was down there with you for the 100 days. I kept checking in what you were doing. But for people who maybe don't recognize the legend that is before me, how would you describe who you are? Because you've had such an immense history. But how do you introduce yourself?
Oh, gosh. So I am a kid from New York who wasn't smart enough to get into college. So I had to join the Navy. And I served in the Navy for 28 years. And during that time, I learned how to learn. And then I worked my way up through the ranks and became an officer. And then I retired. And when I did, I said, that was great. But what I really want to do is this. And what I'm really trying to do is help veterans with traumatic brain injury. So everything else that I've done from that point forward, including living underwater for 100 days, is about helping veterans with traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and moving the needle on helping veterans, if you will. So that's what I do.
Perfect. So I think it's definitely something we need to tackle more on, because the traditional, sort of the methods of treatment are not really as helpful as they could be. Do you think it's especially keen now with science becoming a bit of a bogeyman because of certain administrations' attitude towards science? We need to remind people of the amazing venture. I mean, I worked in a university and people are using Twitter as a source of evidence. It doesn't really work as well.
Right.
Do we need to teach people how to use science again? How to understand, how to trust it?
Yeah, listen, science wins over bullshit every time. People can do this all they want, but the science speaks. Now, that some of that science is tainted with drug company money.
Yeah.
We see that, right? Like if you're a researcher that's getting paid to do drug company research, do you think it's going to come out correctly? Of course it is, right? Of
Uh,
course it is, right?
no way would they be manipulating it. No.
No, no, right? And that's why, as a scientist, you are required to report your bias, right? I mean, my bias is I get paid to be a hyperbaric researcher by the University of South Florida. So my debt is to the University of South Florida. It's not to the drug company for hyperbaric oxygen. It's not to so it is to the University of South Florida. They pay my salary. So if that's the case, then my science can be like, okay, it's got to be correct. We do all the observational steps of science, all the steps in the right order, and we do the best thing that we can do. Now, listen, the other thing, and this frustrates me, we had a man that said that I am science. To question me is to question science. And I said, so that's exactly the opposite of what you do. It's not my science or your science, it's the science. It's the current science that we have right now, right? So the whole purpose of science is to question science every day, all the time. I want people to question me so that the science is better, right? So you go, hey, have you ever considered that the longitudinal axis of the blah, 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 blah needs to be this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't considered that. Did you freeze?
No, it's. I think you're showing news frozen. There
Sorry.
you go. No worries. Did you? Because that's the thing, isn't it? Is like people who sit there, they do a PhD, years of study, peer reviews, and then somebody comes along and says, "Actually, a guy in Twitter said this, and it confirms my bias, so I will follow that." Or this company said this, and I like this company, so I will support that company over what you've just gone through and checked your data. How do we? Can we give a quick short overview of how can you trust sources, or how do we know if something's been scientifically analyzed rather than just my mate Dave said it in the pub, so it's true.
Right. What we call that is bro science, right? So like,
Mm.
hey bro, what are you doing in the gym, right? I go to the gym. What do you do in the gym? Yeah, I do what works. Yeah, bro science, right? So yeah, it's tough is the answer. What you have to do is check the biases, check people's reporting of their income, where that income is coming from, and make your own decisions. Like I said, if it's a drug company that has that model, maybe you think a little bit harder about it. That doesn't mean that they're liars. I'm not accusing people of being liars. I'm just accusing people of having a bias, right? And that is fact. Everybody in the world has a bias, right? So just be able to, as a person, open up your mind, not so much so that your mind falls out, right? Like, but open your mind to the possibility of the fact that whatever you're thinking is wrong. And that's what we don't do in today's day and age. We used to have thoughtful discussions where I go, so, here's what I understand about it. And from my personal opinion, here's what has come to pass. And then you go, well, here's what I have seen and read and do and feel. And then I go, I respect your opinion. I'm going to go ahead and look that up a little bit. There's none of that. There is no respecting anybody anymore. There's not, it's like, oh, you're pink, I'm blue, or you're red, I'm blue. I'm not, I don't believe you because you're red. I don't believe you because you're blue. Never have we done anything like that. That's the way it is.
It annoys me. It's like my camp says this, so that's the gospel, and you're like, yeah, here we go. And that's what I love about science. It answers the who, why, what, when. It looks at the actual universal truths of, well, let's find out about that. It's not enough to know why something happens. It's what causes it, when it causes it, how can we replicate it. And I love that about what you do, is that you are just continuously looking at our human potential, continuously looking at what we're capable of. And obviously you're helping so many people with this, with the brain injury work, with pressure, hyperbaric chamber medicines, etc. We all know about pressure at work, but this is pressure, proper pressure. For people who don't really understand unpressurized, pressured, all that sort of thing. Can you give a quick overview? I know that's asking a
That's
PhD.
okay. No, we're pretty good at this. So hyper means more than, baric means pressure, right? Hyperbaric pressure. All we're doing is increasing the pressure. Now, we know for sure that hyperbaric medicine has certain mechanisms of action. There are 15 or so of them right now, right? These are proven in science, proven in the literature, right? So, what I'm doing is having people start to think about the mechanism of action, right? So, if you're looking for a powerful anti inflammatory, hyperbaric medicine is one of those things, right? If you're looking for a powerful neurotransmitter reducer or increaser of interleukin, or, there are a whole bunch of mechanisms that we know work. So then what I do is I look back across a broad spectrum of diseases and I go, I wonder if it's going to work for this thing. This thing is a disease of inflammation. Hyperbarics is a powerful anti inflammatory. Maybe. And then we apply the science and we push forth and we see if it bears out. Like I said, it's not my science, it's the science. Either it works or it doesn't work. Either the mechanism of action is correct or it's not. And then the results will carry forward and we'll go, wow, this works. My thing is, I don't want people to use it for things that it's not going to work for, right? I don't want people to use any science for things that it's not going to work for. But science wins over bullshit. Just keep doing that science and it'll come out the backside, right?
I think that was going to be the title of this, because I love that people say, "Oh, but I don't trust science." And you're like, but science tells the truth. Yes, there's bias either way, but you can't, the science teaches you what actually happens, not just what you want it to be. How does it affect us by going, into the water, into space? How do we understand the G forces and the pressures that, say, that you're under, or deep sea divers go under, and when we go into aircrafts and astronauts, etc.?
Yeah, so astronauts are not under pressure. They're in a zero gravity situation, which kind of messes with them a little bit, but they're not under pressure. So they are at the same pressure you and I are at, unless they're on an EVA or a walkabout in space, if you will. If they are, they're under much less pressure than we're at right now. But what we're doing is we're increasing that pressure. So when you increase that pressure to be a diver, to be a scuba diver, it's the same thing as being in a hyperbaric chamber, basically. It's just what you're breathing that's slightly different. And like I said, I'll give you a for instance. There was once a time, remember, science is always changing. There was once a time where we believed that we need to do placebos. You understand what a placebo is? I think your audience would understand what a placebo is. I have to try and fake you into believing that you're taking the medicine that I'm giving you so that I can figure out whether this works or not, right? So if I give somebody the oxygen at pressure, I was using a placebo, science was using a placebo that was at 1.3 ATA, right? 1.3 times the pressure that we're at, where the drug was 2.0 times the pressure we're at 100% oxygen. And this at 1.3 was on air. Well, what happened was this group, the oxygen group, got statistically significantly better. Then the placebo group got almost statistically significantly better. So what did we do as scientists? We threw out the entire program and we said, yeah, it just doesn't work, because everybody just got better. So we just assumed that they got better spontaneously. Whoa. So I have a PhD student. This guy went in, actually did flow cytometry looking at stem cell proliferation, and found out that when you're in 1.3 on air, that you double the number of circulating stem cells. But when you're at 2.0 on oxygen, you 8 times the number of circulating stem cells. Okay, but this placebo was psycho and physiologically active. This is the change in science. And we go, oh, we've been doing it wrong. Shoot, we have to do it different, right? So this is the change in science, that we thought this, we made a mistake. Oops, our bad, right? We're scientists. We don't know what we're doing. Everybody thinks we know. We don't know until the data tells us. I mean, we have these preconceived notions, but our job as scientists is to just basically disprove our own preconceived notion. That's the purpose of science.
Yeah. Because I've had friends who have used hyperbaric chambers. My brother-in-law broke his leg, and I think they were getting him to go in pressurized to take the weight off his leg to give him to boost his healing. I had a friend with multiple sclerosis, and he was getting the stem cell treatment. How like what's a range of treatments that they can offer at the moment? What kind of conditions would we normally facilitate that for? And why is it not a traditional medicine provided? Is it the cost? Is it the locations? Is it just the lack of understanding by the medical industry?
Well, okay. So I have great opinions on this, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Hyperbaric medicine has been around for 362 years. Let me say that again. Hyperbaric medicine has been a medicine for 362 years. Before antibiotics, long before most traditional medicines that we have right now. We've been using it. Okay, great. I mean, it was instrumental in the flu of 1918. It was instrumental in treating leprosy. It was instrumental in treating many, many diseases, stomach conditions, right? Okay. That being said, in Joe's opinion, right, that's fact. In Joe's opinion, when we had the turn of the century and everybody moved to a drug company sort of a model, I opine that more people started thinking, well, I just want a pill. I'll take that pill and that pill will cure what ails me. I can take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, one pill or one pill a day, kloop, I'm done. Or I could lay in a hyperbaric chamber for an hour every day. Well, I'm going to take the pill, right? Because it's easy. So that's my opinion of what's going on. But remember, the facts are hyperbaric medicine has been around for 362 years, for crying out loud. It's crazy.
Because that's what really bugs me is like they had to go and pay for this treatment. It wasn't like offered as part of a traditional healing modality. You know, it was just kind of,
True
no,
story.
that's, you have to go to different companies to do this. And thankfully, there is a local place near us that could do it. But it seems to cure so many people. Why is it the medical industry? Is it cost effective? Is it that they don't understand the true scope of the potential, like for brain injuries, for healing, for stem cells? Is it that they're, like you're saying, the cost effectiveness of it, or is it that it's easier just to give a tablet and we can get through waiting lists a lot quicker?
There's a profit model wrapped around drugs. And that's what I see. You prescribe a drug, you get paid to prescribe the drug. You get a little oomph for that when you're a medical doctor. You get nothing for hyperbaric oxygen, and it costs very little to administer. I'll give you a perfect example. Packed red blood cells. A bag of packed red blood cells is about the same cost as a hyperbaric treatment. And we know there are 16 approved indications for hyperbaric medicine that insurance pays for. 16 approved, right? Osteomyelitis, gaseous gangrene, carbon monoxide poisoning, crush injury, compartment syndrome, right? They are approved and they will pay for those. However, most people don't walk around getting gaseous gangrene. Most people don't have carbon monoxide poisoning. Most people don't get decompression sickness. But
No.
those are the mechanisms that they're used for. When you apply that across a broad spectrum of diseases and you try and fix the other stuff, everybody thinks you're a quack. And I'm like, there's no quackness involved. This is actual science. So the reasoning behind that is, I believe, Joe's opinion, is that there is no profit potential in it. And realistically, there are some people out there that are snake oil salesmen, right? Hyperbarics is going to cure your toenail fungus. Nah, nothing that I've seen says that hyperbarics is going to cure toenail fungus. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm saying that the scientific literature doesn't support what you're saying yet.
Well, I would go with Joe's opinion, to be honest, because you seem to be finding out what the range of possibilities. And I love how that every time I come onto your Instagram, it's we're trying this, we're looking at this, we're looking at solutions for that. You're never stopping, you're always looking. And I think we come with a fixed mindset after school. It's like, that's what I've learned, that's it. I'm not looking for anything else. How do you encourage people to keep a bit of a more open mind? For children, it's more easy because you can build their curiosity and their intrigue. How do we get people kind of going, I've tried this to fix this, but it's not working. So instead of having that injury as a badge of honor, I'm going to try this. How do we get them to be a bit more open about what they try?
I do two things on a regular basis. One of them is I support what they call questioning intonation, right? I teach medical school. I teach students at the University of South Florida. And I just did a lecture this weekend at Eckerd College, right? So I'll continually do lectures. And I say, you guys need to question me. And I start my lectures off with that. And then I put a mistake in my slides. And I wait. And I wait. And then when they point it out, if they do, I then laud that person. I'm like, you see? Boom, high five. Like I'll give them a coin. I'll do something very over the top for them because it's like, look, you guys should have a questioning intonation for your leaders. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they do. They can make mistakes. That being said, if you question everything, then you'll understand more. So that's the two things that I try and do. I don't know if it works, but it seems to work. The kid this weekend was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. He came up after the lecture, and he was like, thank you. I really appreciate you doing that. And I was like, keep it up. Keep it up. Question everything and everybody. Don't be disrespectful. Don't, be an idiot, but be kind and be like, hey, I have a question about that. Can you help me understand that better?
It's like your kids, when you say you want them to be asking, why is the sky blue? Why is that green? Why is that orange? Because if not, you get told to be quiet, don't speak back to adults, and it kills that curiosity within us. And it's something we all need, no matter what age you are now listening to this, that people need to be doing it more.
100%.
Because when I seen your thing, people are saying, why is he down there for 100 days? I was immediately thinking, well, what are you seeing about the pressures in terms of the animals, the plants? How are you finding it affecting your taste, your senses, your cravings? Because you're testing your outputs, but how did you find your initial kind of when you were down there? And how does pressure affect things as you start going up and down a bit more?
See, interestingly enough, the whole purpose of this, well, it was threefold. The threefold purpose for me going underwater, I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, and I wanted to find out what happens to the human body when you leave it in a hyperbaric environment for long periods of time. This is an isolated, confined, extreme environment, which I believe we should be using to go from here to Mars. So the 100-day stay was never to break a record. As a matter of fact, it was only half the distance, half the time to get to Mars. It's 200 days to get to Mars. So we need to figure out what happens in this isolated environment. And I believe this hyperbaric medicine is so rejuvenating, if you will, that we need it in order to travel from here to Mars so that when we get to Mars, we have the osteoblast increase, which bone is breaking down the entire time we're flying to Mars, right? Because we're not using it. So we need something like hyperbaric medicine to stem that. We need something that's prophylactic to ionizing radiation, something that's going to help keep us in the best state of health. And that, I think, is hyperbaric medicine for 200 days. So who knows? That's actually what I'm trying to tell the leaders of NASA and Elon Musk and, Blue Origin and the people that are looking to get in space and be in space. So that's the first reason. Second was to talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics and get students interested in that. I'm a biomedical engineer, so I want to make you think that science is cool. Not that I'm cool, but that science can be cool and it can be done in cool places. And the third and final reason was to talk to everybody about my love, which is in this case, the ocean. And I want to preserve, protect, and rejuvenate our marine environment. So those are the purposes of being down there. And like I said, the results they were just published in the International Hyperbaric Association Journal, and they were published at the World Extreme Medicine Conference. So these are in writing, they're in publication, they've been peer reviewed, and basically it says that all of the mechanism of action of hyperbaric medicine happened to me while I was diving. Decrease in inflammatory markers in my body, an increase in an increase in what we call osteoblast production, an increase in telomere length, which is the longevity of the cell. And, all kinds of good things happened. A couple of bad things happened. I shrunk by 3/4 of an inch because of the increase in pressure, but that came back after a little bit,
No, you can't tell. But I mean, I remember you saying that your cognitive enhancement, you were thinking clearer and faster. Did you find that you had any kind of issue onto joints, or like you're saying, did that give you that support and the inflammation went down? What side of your cholesterol did it affect? How did it start having an impact on your psychological as well as your physiology?
So lots of questions there. So I did have
Sorry.
that 9% increase in coherence and a 5% decrease in phase lag, which means that I was thinking better and I
Okay.
was thinking faster, which is great, right? But they're not statistically significant. So, but it's a little better and a little faster. Now, Shai Efrati, a brilliant researcher, has done research in cognitive enhancement in a declining age population. That is, the older people, the older you get, you decrease your ability to do multitasking. Now, we increased that in hyperbaric medicine. We increased your ability to multitask and single task. So he proved that. So we know that, like I said, it's just one of the mechanism of action that came up. Now, all of these inflammatory markers and so forth, like I said, all the goodness that came from this hyperbaric pressure thing, basically what I'm trying to do is get the word out there that we can use this naturopathic medicine to make people better. And it does a whole bunch of things. And if we can just apply it, we can take things from off-label to on-label.
I love that. It's like there's so many rabbit holes I'm trying to avoid going down because I find you so interesting, and there's so many just about your history, never mind what you've currently been doing.
Let me ask you a silly question for your listeners. What's Viagra used for?
For maintaining erections, but also the increasing blood flow.
Right. So it's erectile dysfunction is what everybody thinks it's used for. What it's FDA approved for is as a cardiac drug, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's FDA approved here. Its off-label use is as a erectile dysfunction fix. Okay, great. Well, apply that to hyperbaric medicine. On label, there are 16 approved indications. Off label, there's about 30 approved indications, but that just means they're not going to pay for it. Who pays for your Viagra? Well, you do, right? That's just the way that it goes, right? Because if it's not on label, the drug company is not going to give it to the insurance company at that reduced cost and whatever.
Man.
But let's back up. My opinion on drug companies is that your health insurance has nothing to do with your health. That's just my opinion. They have nothing to do with your health, and then not because if they did, they'd pay for your gym membership. Because we know that when you go to the gym, you release interleukin 15, which is a powerful antiviral. Everybody should be in the gym. Everybody, not just because it's good for you to work out, and muscle builds everything in your body, and it's the single biggest thing that you can do for longevity. But because it releases that antiviral, that powerful antiviral. So if we really thought that drug companies were interested in taking care of us, they'd be more prophylactic. They are reactionary and reactive.
Yeah, and that costs far more because we're for a short-term fix. Yeah.
That's the thing that kills me. If you really think about it, the cost benefit is be prophylactic to your disease. Prevent people. Give people an incentive. Oh, you don't smoke? Good, let's give you an incentive. Oh, you reduced your cholesterol. Let's give you an incentive. You reduced your weight. Let's give you an incentive. Let's give you a little kickback on the money. Because you're statistically less likely to die from something that's going to cost me a crap load of money.
It's like in an office, they give you fag breaks rather than giving you and the people who stay at work get more work because they're there. Fiendish. Is that similar thinking then of using Ozempic for like brain injuries and things like that? Is it actually looking at medicines and seeing how by treating them under certain pressures could then be used for like cognitive fixes? Because you get athletes that go off to camps at certain altitudes and stuff. Are they taking a effect of that for their sporting prowess? Where we could also, a layman could use it for just thinking clearer, better, happier, depression, anxiety, these sorts of things?
So we have been using Ozempic IM, intramuscular injection, for years and years and years to treat an increase in cerebral blood flow, to increase cerebral blood flow, right?
Okay.
We've been using it for years, right? And it's great for that. However, that side effect of losing weight, that is a bad side effect for losing weight. I mean, it's losing the wrong kind of weight, right? It's not losing the fat. Look, most assuredly, the way to lose fat is to lose fat, right? That's it. I mean, muscle burns more energy than does fat. So get the muscle up, get the fat down, increase the, cardiovascular input, basically move. And look, I understand there is a small amount of people. There are a small amount of people that have thyroid issues. There are a very small amount of people who have diabetes type 1. But, I remember my father, Lord rest his soul, he would say, I got the diabetes. I'm like, you didn't get diabetes type 2. You earned that. Like you earn diabetes, right? You earn it by eating poorly, by not exercising, by. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that people need to do a little bit more and be a little bit more proactive in their own health. And if they do that, we can get these people to succeed and win in life, as opposed to being hurt and being miserable and being part of the system now.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
So if somebody was interested in doing it and could find a facility near them, and it was cost effective, etc., what would they need to do, or how would they prepare themselves to get the most from it? Is there like a certain diet beforehand? Is there cleanses? Because I know you talk about oxygen debt, oxygen therapy, and that sort of things.
Right.
How do we make sure that we are the prime piece of meat, basically, to go through this treatment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I tell people the same thing over and over. And I say, listen, you should be in a constant state of physical activity in some way, shape, or form daily. And that could mean if your physical activity is walking for a half hour, walk for a half hour, and that's fine. Do something every day. If you can get to the gym, get to the gym. You should be eating properly. And what's proper? Well, proper to me is not eating a bunch of CRAP, right? You're not eating garbage, right? You're not eating all of this processed, ultra processed food. I don't know what you think about the administration that has the health and human services people now in the United States, but they are onto something good, which is natural products only. That's it. I mean, natural, just, no pesticides, no dyes, no weird names. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if you pick up the thing that you're about to eat and you read it and it says monosodium glutamate, I don't even know what that is, right? Like, what the is that? There's no way I'm going to put that in my body, right? I'm like, okay, fresh strawberries. Okay, that's pretty easy. I know what that is, right? Now let's talk about cleaning the strawberries and making sure they don't have pesticides on them. Okay, great. But natural foods, that's what your body needs. Does it need, refined sugars? No, not at all. Does it need high fructose sugar? Never. There's a close link to dementia and high fructose corn syrup. There's, all the seed oils, all the things that we need to just get out of our body. So if it's me, I happen to be on and off on a ketogenic diet, 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio diet with zero.
Okay.
That's what I do. I mean, but that's me. But look, I'm 57 friggin' years old. But that's bro science. Remember we talked about it in the beginning? That's bro science because the ketogenic diet doesn't work for everybody. And my cholesterol went from 272 way down into the 200s when I was in hyperbaric medicine, but my ratio is really good, so there's not really a problem. But now it's down at 175 and I haven't changed anything. It was that kickstart that I got from being in hyperbaric medicine, increasing my metabolic rate and decreasing. This is something that we're trying to work on. Can this help people? Can hyperbaric medicine help people to get better about their metabolism? Can it spur that help naturally? And the answer is it seems to be so. So we're figuring this stuff out right now. But yeah, my cholesterol's down in the 170s. My ratios are freaking amazing. My health is better than it was before I even went in the water. My extrinsic age is 34 and I'm 57. It is crazy.
I was going to say, you look fantastic. You look full of like vitality and life. And I was kind of like, where's my nearest place I could go to? Like, because we don't understand a lot of this. Because most of the time we've seen it on Baywatch. Somebody got the bends, they went into compression chamber after they got saved. And that was it. That's all we know of these things.
Right.
But what was the most surprising results? Because you were checking on your sleep, your brain waves, you exercised down there, you checked your output, shall we say, for all these kind of things.
Everything.
What blew you away?
Or electrocardiograms, electroencephalograms, pulmonary function tests. We did every damn test known to man, right? My most surprising thing was the fact that I normally sleep every night between 30 and 33% in deep and REM. Yeah. Now, or then, while I was underwater, I slept between 60 to 66% in deep and REM. That totally shocked me. All the sleep doctors, everybody and they're like, no, that must be wrong. I'm like, no, it's consistent. And every single person who came down and spent the night underwater, who had an Apple Watch or whatever, a Fitbit, those things that you track sleep with, they're like, I slept so amazingly and I had technicolor dreams. And I was like, right? Why? No clue. Supposition is that it increases your metabolism, so you're tired. But what do you do in deep and REM sleep? You relearn stuff. You rehearse stuff. You remember things. You catalog it. You take it from short-term memory and you stick it back in long-term memory. If you're doing that better and for a longer period of time, you are getting better. This is why my cognitive ability went up, in my opinion. This is why my processing speed, went up. It's crazy.
So could that work on rejoining? I try to avoid going into too technical. Neurological pathways for like dementia, Alzheimer's, these sorts of conditions. Can it, like PTSD? Is that the kind of scope that you're looking at of what you can do to these, or is it just severe injuries? Or
oh no. Yeah, no. So PTSD is something that we can definitely work around. So basically, do you know what it takes to break a synaptic pathway? 1.3 times gravitational acceleration. So that was 1.3 times gravitational acceleration, right? That was a hard stop in a car. Roller coasters are 6 Gs,
Yeah.
Take off
all it takes
is over 1.3 Gs, right? So, but how does that affect you? So we're breaking synaptic pathways all the time. Those things, there are some people that believe that you cannot rejuvenate those. I happen to be on the side of the people that believe that you cannot rejuvenate those. So if you could rejuvenate them. That's one thing. I believe you can't. And if you can't, what do I now believe? I believe that you can reroute synaptic pathways. How do you get to the
Okay.
mall? I get to the mall by going from here to here to here. That's the quickest way to get to the mall. Hold on. I want to reroute this to here, to here, to here, then to here. I can reroute it more better, right? So what do? You can try hyperbarics. You can try different things. There are so many different things out there. And trust me, I don't believe that hyperbarics is the cure for anything. Remember, the cure, the only thing that hyperbaric medicine does is help your body to heal itself. Your body wants to heal itself. Your body has natural mechanisms involved, stem cell production, right?
Yeah.
So your body naturally produces stem cells anyway, all the time, because you're replacing cells. I'm just making you do it more in hyperbaric oxygen. Your body has anti-inflammatories like, any of these anti-inflammatories like interleukin 23. It's a powerful pro-inflammatory cytokine, right? So that's high. It's higher in hyperbaric medicine, right? So that's the thing that quells your systemic inflammatory response, right? So your body gets to the point where it can heal itself. All you got to do is just give it a helping hand and help it on its way.
I love that. I love how that we're just seeing the scope of that. This is where the money should be going. What's the scope and the range just now of your veteran trials? What you're doing at the university. How are you? Could you go into a little bit about that? Because I know we could
Sure.
talk a whole thing, a podcast on that, but because you're doing amazing work. But could you explain how and what you're doing with these the test subjects?
Absolutely. The state of Florida in the legislature, Paul Renner was the Speaker of the House at that point. He gave the University of South Florida $28 million. Now, that came from the government, from the state government to the University of South Florida, saying, let's go find out what hyperbaric medicine really does. And we got enough money that we can do the largest clinical trial ever done in hyperbaric medicine. 420 people in our study. Never before. Usually hyperbaric studies are in the 30s, 40s, 50s. My PhD students are self-funding and they're doing it in the 15s, 20s, 30s. Some of them have gotten up to 100 because nobody's paying for this. The state of Florida said, we're going to pay for it and we're going to take care of our veterans. And we want to see what's going on because veterans are spending a lot of money and there's much ado. And some people are saying it's bad and some people are saying it's good. The answer is we don't know. Scientists at the University of South Florida, 38 of us, I know you see me, there's 38 of us. They're experts in the gut biome and the gut brain connection. They're experts in psychology, psychiatry, neurosurgeons, neurologists. Everybody's on this. We're taking blood, urine, saliva, electrocardiograms, electroencephalograms, magnetic resonance, diffuse tensor imaging, feces studies. I mean, we're doing every single test known to man. And, we're out there doing the right science, right? So here we are taking 420 military veterans with mild to moderate traumatic brain injury, treating them in hyperbarics with a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study because science is over bullshit, right? So we're trying to figure out whether or not this works. And everybody's like, well, you're on the side of hyperbarics. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm on the side of science because I want to see whether this works or not. And if it does, let's keep applying it. If it doesn't, let's stop people wasting their money on it, right? That's the bottom line. That's my goal in everything that we do and is being done in science. Does red light therapy work? Science wins over bullshit. Let's do tests on it. Does grounding work? Right? Does beamer mat work? Does the, structural energetic therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, neurofeedback therapy, does that stuff work? We need to do the science on it to see. Now, I can make a couple of scientific assumptions and do a couple of observations, which is the first step in the scientific process, and then form some null hypothesis and go from there. But we need to apply this to a broad spectrum of these things that are coming out because everybody's got the wonder drug, right? Hey, if you take this, If you drink this 3 times a day, you're going to
Yep.
get more better. Really? Okay. Let's see. Let's see the science behind it, right? Now, here's also my feeling. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling, but my feeling is very simple. When I had my traumatic brain injury, what did I do? And the answer is everything. Somebody said, "Hey, do you know that if you stand outside in the morning and face east and watch the sun rise and look at that orange light in the morning, that's better and healing and increases mitochondrial function?" And, blah, blah, blah. And I went, okay, not a lot of science behind that. However, is it going to hurt me to do that? No. Okay. Then I'm going to stand out, face east. I'm going to watch the sunrise. Why? Because I want to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for the pill. I'm looking for the get better. So the get better takes work, and you got to just try everything. So I did. I tried everything. That's why I'm on ice baths. That's why I'm on saunas. That's why, because it's better, right? And the data seems to be there. So
I love your enthusiasm, and I wish, see, it's people like you that should be famous, not these bloody Kardashians and all these. It just frustrates me that people that do this amazing work. I mean, I've had people on here who have talked about red light therapy, grounding shoes, and all this. And I never know what's working and what's not. And it's like you're saying, we need more studies on this.
So the problem is I'm a scientist, and I didn't do this in a very scientific manner because I was trying to fix myself. And I did everything. And my overall opinion on this is what worked best is the synergistic effect of everything. Because I had some anti-inflammatory things. I had some things that increased cerebral blood flow. I had some things that increased the synaptic pathway restoration. I had something, and all of this together worked. It worked. Now, do I care? Yeah, I kind of sort of care a little bit, right? Because I'd like to have the one or two things that work the best. However, I don't care because I'm better. I'm not only better, I'm back and better than I was before I started, right? So it's like, this is why I'm writing the book, Why My Traumatic Brain Injury is the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. Because people need to understand it's not the one thing or the two things or the three things. You have to heal like it's your freaking job. Because if you want to be the carrier of everything, right? Like I'm the guy, right? Who sits on my shoulder? The cat sits on my shoulder, the parrot, the bird, the kids, the dog, the chicken, everything in life sits on my shoulders in my life, right? It sits on my shoulders. How much weight can you carry if you put down your pack for just a month, take care of yourself for a whole month straight? You can carry more. And this is what I tell all the military guys, because they are looking to save the world, right? They're the saviors of the world. That's how we view ourselves, right? As the saviors. Well, if we are the saviors, we can do more if we can carry more weight. If we can put it down for a second, carry more weight, we can help more people. So, yeah, the answer is everything, and the answer is the synergistic effect. That's at least my opinion.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Is we automatically see something and we go, "Oh, could it do this? Could it do this? Could it do?" And we don't kind of systematically break it down and look. But it's like you're saying: is how much will it hurt us by eating a bit healthier, eating a bit? But if it could change our lives, it could make us so much more productive. And I mean, I've had depression. I've had when it's the dark days and stuff, and I found eating better, getting out in the sunlight helped me. I don't know the science behind it. I just know it worked.
Now that's all bullshit because there's no science behind that. Wait. Really? We intuitively know. Look, if I ask you, this is a plant, and I ask 3 people in the room, I say, what's wrong with the plant? And they say, oh, it needs sunlight. Oh, it needs water. Oh, it needs food. Well, I'm a researcher. Hold on. I'm going to separate the confounding variables. That's what we call them.
Yeah.
Sunlight. All I want to do is give it sunlight and find out if sunlight does this. Well, sunlight only with no water and no food, sunlight kills plants. Then you do the water only. Water only kills plants. food only kills plants. That's the science behind it, right? That's the problem with the scientific process. We know intuitively that plants need sunlight, water, food, and a good environment, and maybe talk to them or give them carbon dioxide, whatever, right? We intuitively know that it takes a combination of things. So move that to the health of the human. It's a combination of things. It takes a village. It takes eating right and working out and, and doing all these things, right? But that's not sellable to the insurance companies.
Because I remember I would say stuff and they would say, "Oh no, that's garbage. There's no science behind it." And I would go, and I would pull up a paper and go, "Here's something that's been peer reviewed in such and such a journal," and they go, "No, that's still garbage." And you're like, "But it's right there, and they've done tests and they've done a good range of participants." And they're like, "No, still garbage." And it was just that moment of, here's evidence. So, is there good places to start in our, like, if white papers, journals?
Right.
How do we take this interest that we're building by listening to greats like yourself and reading more about it, and then start scientificing up our own lives in a way?
Sure. Look in peer-reviewed journals, number one. Check for math errors, number two, because I see math errors in peer-reviewed papers all the time. So that means you got to learn a little bit about statistics and statistical analysis. I see it all the time. So check for it. The third thing is look at people's biases and make your own determination from where they come from, right? Like I said, if they're coming out of the drug companies, you ought to think about that, right? I mean, not saying that they're lying, but I'm saying that we should check the bias, right? So not saying that we throw it all away. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And then, the overall thing that I found in Joe Dituri's life is you got to have balance, right? You could fast every day for 20 hours and just eat for an hour a day, or 23 hours and just eat for 1 hour a day. And is that good? The answer is maybe, right? It may be good short term in a balanced thing to help you with your diet and create autophagy and da 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 da. But is it good long term? No, it's not. Women should not be fasting during the menstruation cycle. Well, people should not be fasting at times when they're biologically stressed or physiologically stressed. They shouldn't be fasting, right? Because it's a stress on your body. It's an additional stress on your body. So everything comes with balance, right? Is it good to be on a ketogenic diet? Yeah. Is it okay to eat, a candy bar every now and again? For God's sakes. I mean, we're humans, right? Let's bring a little bit of balance back to our lives, but let's just not eat candy bars at every meal, right? Let's look at the ingredients on the back of the packet and try and strive for normal, right? Let's get the plastics out of our life. Let's get the dyes out of our life. The more we can return to normalcy and a balanced life, the better off we're going to do. Look, is it good to go out every night? No, it's never good to go out every night. Is it good to go out every once in a while? Yeah, it's good. It's okay. Right?
So if I could throw hundreds of millions at you right now and said, okay, your work has changed this, what would your ideal test be, or the future of research? Would you want to look at producing a chamber that could go into individual houses? Would you be wanting to take everybody with any kind of mental health condition or brain injury and just treating them? Or how would you want to develop the research and how to allocate the funding that could come from that?
At the University of South Florida, I'm the Assistant Vice President for Veterans Clinical Research. I would make a center which takes care of veterans, which brings the veteran in and looks at them as a holistic person from soup to nuts and wraps their arms around that person and makes them better. Guys, girls, people are coming back from war. We do this, right? There's a moral compass that winds up being broken when you enter the military. I know. I was in for 28 years, right? So you break your moral compass. That's just the basics of it, right? I came from New York. I entered the military, and all of a sudden I'm in a whole bunch of places with a bunch of people that had very different morals than I. Not better, not worse, just different. And I was asked to do things that I was never asked to do when I was in high school and growing up, right? So I had a moral problem, right? There were things that I had to do that I didn't necessarily feel in my heart that I agreed with. And I wound up doing them. So you get a little broken. So we need to fix it. We owe these people a debt that is unpayable, in my opinion, but they're coming out
Definitely.
and they are messed up. And I want to wrap my arms around every single one of them and say, listen, I'm here. It's okay. It'll be all right. We will work it out.
Because I've interviewed former military people, and they've said they get no help when they go in about how to set up banks, how to set up direct debits, how to make sure that you have a flat to go to. It's just once you're signed out of the military into civilian life, it's just okay, see you later. And I thought that was terrifying, but it's even scarier that we're putting them out with all these conditions. This after all the stuff they've done. I mean, I know that we're short on time, and I would love to have you again because there's so many rabbit holes, and I find you such a likable person that I was so tempted to go. No, don't say that. This we'll keep on this area because the first one I always loved doing general, but I think you're so
Yeah.
fascinating, and I'd love to go into more of the neurological stuff as well. But
Love
what would
to.
what would you love to take from this, like as a go message for people? Or a focus or a motivation? What do you want people to take from these interviews?
Take charge of you. You are 100% in charge. Do your research before you go anywhere. Look, listen, feel. Do the sniff test. That doesn't make sense. Maybe it does. Do a little, become that inquisitive person. Have that questioning intonation on all the science, on anything, especially when it comes to you. You get a diagnosis, look at it, figure out what the possible next steps are. Ask, just keep that information flowing. Don't stop learning. Don't stop looking. Don't stop exploring. I mean, this is what we do. We are humans. We are here for this ride. Now we're on a ride. Where we're going, who knows, right? But our job, our only thing that we can do is explore for our own life, explore for our own future, and explore for the life of the world that we're going to hand to the next generation. We better start taking care of people.
I love that because that's a brilliant message to end with, and it's we're now realizing that we can't just do the tried and tested. We can't be reactive. We've got to be proactive, like you've said in this. How can we follow this journey? Because I would like to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to
Ah,
fixing people, for healing people, for showcasing the wonders that these kind of measures and treatments can do. But how can we help, assist, donate? How can we follow along the journey, find you on social media? And what's next for you?
yeah, you can reach out and look at drdeepsea.com. That's continuously being updated and making it better. But Dr. Deep Sea is my handle on all the Instagram and the channels and Twitter. And I don't do it. Don't mind me. I really don't do it. I have a person that does it, thankfully, because I'm not good at any of that stuff. But basically, that's how you can follow me. And what's next? Oh boy! So, like I told you, that my concept of operations for flights to Mars are put people in a hyperbaric chamber and send them somewhere. And when we do that, they will be ready to get off the plane when it comes to getting to Mars. Because right now, somebody stays up on the International Space Station for 200 days and they come down. What do? We carry them off of the landing vehicle and we bring them into wherever and we let them heal and bring. Who's going to carry us off when it comes to going to Mars? There's nobody there. So we're going to have to
Yep.
figure out how to be able to walk when it gets to coming to Mars, right? How to be able to be better, be protected, da, 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 da. There are many things that need to be done. So, we got some work to do and, you'll see that's kind of where that's kind of the avenue in which I'm going. So we'll see how the NASA astronaut thing comes out. We'll see how the Elon Musk astronaut thing comes out. We'll see how the Blue Origin astronaut thing comes out. But space is in my future. We'll see.
Well, that's it for another week, and thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.